Hey everyone, it's Chris with 8 Bells and all as well. I teased in one of my other videos that I was going to talk a little bit about a market update and where we're seeing, or what I'm seeing, and sort of as a trend, starting to become a trend is, especially in the secondary market, is a slight price increase. We're starting to see a slight price increase, which I think more is to come after October 1st, which I understand that a lot of watch brands are going to be um, building in percentage costs on top of what's already been built in. And those of you who don't know, I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a watch dealer, but in my full-time job, I'm an analyst for a large insurance company. So I do cost trends and market analysis for many different things and costs and charges and stuff like that. So I'm in spreadsheets all day, and I like to do this stuff as a hobby. I'm weird that way. But when you do it for something that you like watches, like I love watches, I'm a watch enthusiast first, as I tell everybody. Before I, sell you a watch, I try to know as much about it as I can. Um, I It's fun. So that kind of stuff is my weird for sort of fun for me, is to be able to track and have build spreadsheets and data that have all this information. Now there's things you can buy that are out there and all that stuff, and it's all well and good, and they're not bad. I'm not saying it's bad, but I trust myself. So what I like to do is really just look at aggregated volume. Now, I'm always talking about, when I'm looking at data, I'm always looking at secondary market value prices. So secondary market would include things like Chrono 24, eBay, watch charts, any secondary market or secondary marketplace that you would see that captures that data and pulls it in. So I like looking at that data. You're probably thinking, oh, Chris, you're nuts. How could you track all that? Well, it really comes down to one watch for me, and that's this bad boy, the Rolex current version, Rolex Submariner no date. And the reason why I pick on this watch is, probably you're all going to know, is that this is probably one of the most popular watches out there. And it's consistently performing steadily. So as an analyst, you probably think, oh, we're always looking for the median. We're always looking for the bar, the mean. We want the average. And this is a tried and true representation of luxury watches that aren't crazy like a Daytona or AP, FB Journe. They're not that level, or down below, which is like, an Omega or a Tudor or a Breitling. This is kind of like, for me anyway, in my analysis, this is the bar. And for the last 6 months, this watch has been doing fairly well. It's increased about anywhere from about 2% to about 3% in price, secondary pricing. And how I come up with that data is that I look at things like eBay, I look at watch charts, I look at all kinds of other public data that I can scrub and create a median for. So that median price is anywhere between 11 to 12,000. It started. Now it's kicking up more into the 12.5, 13 range, depending on if it's new or not. But this watch is a good litmus test of where the market goes, because, like, unlike a Daytona, let's say, Daytona or a Pepsi, these watches don't command that sort of wild market volatility. They don't fall out of favor that much. They're just a consistent, tried and true representation of the the watch business or industry. Again, on the secondary market. And you guys will remember that in May, Rolex increased the price of all their watches 3%. So 3% increase because of the tariffs. So they ate a lot of the tariff increase, percentage increase. Now, what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, and what we're starting to see from some brands, is to say October 1st, everyone's going to raise their prices. And we don't know what percentage they're going to eat or take on as part of the tariffs. But it's probably going to be more than 3%, because the 39% tariff, you're only eating 3%. That's 36% you're still going to eat. That's a lot. And it will essentially kill the retail market. I mean, if you're planning on going to a boutique and an NAD and buying a watch, do it before October 1st. That would be my advice, because come October 1st, I think most of them are going to raise their price significantly. And then when you add things like tax and stuff like that, it's going to be a lot higher than what you would get like on a gray market. But again, in the gray market too, you're going to see increases, because those retail watches, or those people that buy watches just to flip them, they're going to be pulling from the retail space, and they're going to build in those costs in the secondary space. Two factors that are going to push probably all prices up are going to be the fact that there's going to be a limited availability for those secondary watches that are already pre-owned, that have like a lower price point, those are going to get purchased up. And secondarily, the increased prices that are going to be paid from the AD are going to build those, are going to make, they're probably going to mean that they're going to ship less to the US. So not only are we having less, uh, you know, volume coming into the US, we're going to have less availability that's already landed here in the US. So that's like a combination for, as supply and demand. Anyone who studies supply and demand would know is going to create a lot of price increase. So I'm saying it's about a 2 or 3% market increase over the last six months. Could be higher, could be lower, but that's pretty much the median, using median prices, sold prices, not just listed, because anyone can list this watch can be listed for $18,000. Will somebody buy it for $18,000? Maybe, I don't know, but usually not. So if you're contemplating something, let's say for the holidays, you're saying, oh, my plan is to save up to buy something for like this Christmas, or have someone buy you something, that hopefully buy you something like this for Christmas. Then I would start calculating what that looks like. And then when the actual numbers come up to how much the retail price is, build it up. It'll be interesting to see after October, or whenever, if prices do, retail, all the major brands lift up their prices, to see how much of an increase there will be, not only in the retail price but also in the secondary market. But I am seeing already that retail secondary market dealers are building in price increases already. It's not uncommon for dealers to put stock images on a website and say, we have this watch, because they know they can go get it. They just don't have to put it in their inventory, but they're already pricing that way high to build in the costs for potential prices increase from the retailer. So that's what I'm seeing. That's me. That's what I'm seeing. If you have any thoughts about it, let me know. Again, I'm using all publicly sourced data, all sold data, not listed data. And I'm trying to help whoever might be looking for some information like that. I can do other watches if you want. Like I said, I have fun doing this. So in the lull of me dealing, watch dealing, this is a lot of fun for me. But that's what I'm seeing. So I would beg to argue that this would not apply just to luxury watches. I think it's going to go across the board. We're already seeing with Seiko's, we're already seeing with Japanese brands. We're already seeing it to some extent announced with the lesser Hamiltons and Oris of the worlds. They're already saying they're planning on increasing. The only one that's not is Christopher Ward, which is like saying, no, we're not gonna do that. So um, they're on the radar for sure. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. If you want me to do anything else or look at anything else, please let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions. Always happy to provide any information, or look up any information that you might find interesting. Always appreciate the likes and the follows and the shares. This is a group, Ben's Army, Ben's Kids, whatever we're calling ourselves, Ben's Football Pool, Fantasy Football League. Anyway, take care, everyone, and have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.